The beginning started actually in the home, and I would say that I had a disinterest in music, and that was because my mom kind of forced music onto us as kids, and we had to learn. We had to learn an instrument. My mom put me in piano lessons. She later put me in trumpet lessons, and I was very obstinate. I didn't want to learn. I didn't have patience. My middle sister would always tease me that I had ADD. So I didn't want to sit and actually learn, but this was being planted, embedded into my head because I heard my mom playing piano, playing Beethoven, late hours of the night, keeping us all up. And I think that was being drilled in my head that, you were going to have to learn an instrument. So it started with really orchestral instruments like the piano. My mom also played the cello. And then my sisters were they were learning string instruments as well. And so I was just hearing music in the home as far back as I can remember. I mean, as far back as even prior to DJing, I was just hearing music, and that would be actually classical music. So classical music was the first thing as far back as I can remember as far as hearing music. I was kind of thriving to be able to do something and express myself, and it was starting to come out. I remember specifically, a good friend of mine introduced me to a guy. He was a young kid, and he was DJing in his parents' basement. He used to DJ for his parents. His name was Ron Fields. And I saw him spinning in his basement for his parents at a party. And I was just amazed at what he was doing. He was manipulating the turntables, controlling the crowd. And then I asked, could I actually see him? And so I went over his house on a Saturday. I remember my grandfather dropping me off because this is before I'm driving. This is before you have even a permit. And he took me in the basement and he said, here's what it is. So I saw 2 turntables in a mixer. That's all I saw. One of them was a standard turntable. The other one had a pitch control. And I was curious, and he just showed me what he was doing as far as physically DJing. He started to show me the technique and show me what he was doing, coming in and out of records. House music was really big. I'll say its first boom was in the mid 80s. And I didn't realize I was becoming a part of just such a big culture, but I was in a huge way. And it actually, the musical influence actually started before DJing on the city block, and that was Midwest Detroit on Santa Barbara. As I jog my memory and things that stand out, just cultural high points, I'm thinking right now of the arcade. And there's an arcade called the Omni, and we couldn't go to the Omni because it was dangerous. I'm thinking of violent, high crime, city of Detroit, YBI, Young Boys Incorporated. And so it was a dangerous situation, but in the backdrop, we were just happy on the block. We played football, we came out, we went to our neighbors' homes, we interacted. And as I went to my neighbor's home, I remembered a specific story of kind of learning that there were some significant people that lived on my block. As I reflect now, I can tell you that one of my childhood friends, he was probably my best friend at the time. I have a couple of best friends, but his name was Willie White. And we used to go down to Willie's house, and we just wanted to play football, ride our bikes. I had a Schwinn, which is a nice 5-speed bike. And I remember going to Willie's house, and his dad, he was just this imposing figure. Tall guy, big, and didn't speak a lot, but when he did, he was just authoritative, and we were scared, right? So we didn't want to go down to Willie's house only if Willie would answer the door. But if we even thought, his dad was coming, we were like, let's get out of there. So I learned about Willie's dad kind of, I remember, I don't know if Willie will remember this, but he took us to the basement. We could never go into his room. One day Willie took us into the room, or took me into the room, I remember specifically, and I remember seeing plaqued records, like a gold record on the wall. And I remember seeing a bass in the room, like a bass guitar. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what does this guy do? Who is he? Because he was just mean Mr. White. His name was Bill White. And Willie tells me that his dad was a bass player for the Temptations and the Four Tops. So here I am, my best buddy. His dad has this powerful musical influence. Now I'm a kid, and this is pre-DJing times, but as I reflect, all of these incidents, all of these experiences were pouring into me at an early age and affecting me musically. First record I touched was Expose Point of No Return. And then he took the next record, it was Lisa Colt Jam, Can You Feel the Beat? Those were the first songs that I touched. And we would get our hands on any records. Also, there was a 2 Live Crew album that came out. This is like 84. And so we would play the 2 Live Crew. In 84, Michael Jackson Thriller was big. So we had the Michael Jackson Thriller records. So those 4 records, 2 Live Crew, Michael Jackson, Lisa Colt Jam, Expose, Point of No Return, those were my introductory records into music. I call myself fully back in the scene now, and it's a lot of fun. And I think it's really fun because I kind of like stepped back. I didn't totally disengage. I kind of watched and observed for about, I'll say 8 to 10 years. I just took a step back and I watched. I always observed other DJs. I watched the technology develop. I watched how DJs advanced. And I came to some conclusions having watched them from my analog days, we'll call it, to the modern technology days. And I have a scathing criticism, and it literally forced me back into the game.